Hello everybody, we're back working on this SM465. When we left off last time, I showed you how to pull all the bearings out, and I hope that was helpful to some of you guys. Once your bearings are out, your main gear set is going to come out next. It's a little tricky, you gotta fuss around with it a little bit, but this will come out next. And it's a heavy unit, so be careful. Okay. And we're just going to move that off to the side. We'll deal with that in a minute. Kind of tricky on this tilted bench I got here, but there it is. And then once you have that out, you can go for your cluster gear in the bottom. And again, it's a big heavy unit, be careful with that. It can be a bear. Okay, there she is. And what we have left is just our reverse in there. And we can knock that out if we need to. I'll inspect it. But we got all our gears out now. And we'll get that case soaking in the parts washer, get that cleaned up real nice. Because I'm putting this to a Jeep transfer case, I have a new main shaft. So we're not going to be using this main shaft anymore. But I'll still show you how to take the gears off, how to press those off, put your new bushings in and stuff. Our main cluster gear, this is going to stay the same. We're not going to change that around at all. So we'll clean the case. We'll start dismantling our main shaft. And probably now is a good time to pull out all the stuff, the rebuild stuff, and the new main shaft and the kit I got for adapting it to the Dana 18 transfer case. So I'll get things soaking, clean the bench up a little bit, and we'll take a look at the kit that you get with the rebuild when it mates to a Dana 18. Okay everybody, I just want to go over a few things with you when we're doing a conversion here. This is our new main shaft, and that's going to replace this one right here. And what we need is the 6-spline output for our Jeep transfer case. So we'll take this apart, we'll use the gears and stuff, but it's all going to get loaded onto this main shaft here. Okay, there is the adapter from the 465 to the 18. This is the Advanced Adapters one. You can get it from Advanced Adapters, you get it from Novak. Both of those outfits are real good. I just do a lot of business with Advanced Adapters, so I use their stuff. I got some mounts, some bearings, got a hardware kit. Okay, this is the improved third gear that we're going to be using. If your transmission has ever popped out of third, this is a good upgrade. I'll show the installation there. We got a small parts kit. Naturally, we're always going to change all our blocking rings. We got our various bushings here to press on the shaft. Now these are new old stock shift forks. There's our cover right there. I'm going to show the cover rebuild in another video. But I did source new old stock shift forks. We got our spring kit. We've got our gasket kit, bearings, seals, everything we need for a rebuild. But from this point forward, we're going to be doing stuff. I'll show you the techniques, and when we get to assembling it, remember it's going to go on this main shaft. So if you're doing a regular rebuild, obviously you're going to use your GM main shaft, but you see the splines here, that'll never work with the Jeep stuff. So we need the 6 spline, very high quality main shaft, and our gears in this transmission are looking fantastic. We're not changing any gears, except we are upgrading our third gear. But synchronizer is good. We'll change the dogs and the springs. We'll change the blocking rings. But it takes a few parts to get one of these done, and obviously the adapter kit. But there's a lot of junk out there. Try and use high quality stuff, especially on your bearings. These are Nachis. I've had good luck with those. You can always find cheaper, inferior Chinese bearings out there, and you think you're going to save yourself a few dollars. Don't do it. You'll get back into your transmission sooner than you want to. So use good bearings, and source out some good parts. They're out there. They're easy to find. Like I say, I was able to source all new old stock original GM shift forks. The originals weren't in terrible shape, but we were starting to lose some of the coating, like on that one. We're down to bare steel again. So just be conscious of what you're buying, and it'll go a long way towards a long life of your transmission. Okay, so enough of that. I think I showed you everything we're going to use, and I'll show you it going in. Let's get to disassembling our gear cluster. Okay, let's start stripping some gears. We're going to take our first gear thrust washer off. It's our reverse driven gear. We're going to take off our hub here for 3/4. There's a snap ring here that's already been removed. And now we have something that's ready to go in the press. So just remove what you can, and we'll head over to the press, and I'll show you the setup over there. Okay, we're set up in the press over here, and on this press operation we're going to get the 3rd and 4th synchronizer hub off there. 3rd gear, the bushing, the thrust washer, and 2nd gear are going to come off there in this shot. So I've got it securely supported by 2nd gear, and I got it in my big 50-ton press here. I normally don't like to do pressing operations like this in this big press, but I couldn't get it in my arbor press. So we're just going to go for it and carefully get everything out of here. Try and get some light on here for you if I can. And we're just going to start pressing. Oh, there went the light. Starting to move nicely, and it's a very slow press, but we'll get it little by little. Okay, there she goes. Okay, so we'll head over to the bench and I'll show you what we got off on that press. Okay, we'll take these pieces and we'll stack them. There's your synchro hub, your blocking ring, your third gear, thrust washer, everything came right off safely and easily, and you've seen me do it before. And what I like to do is put everything on a transmission tree there so it stays in the same place. You know how it came out. So kind of, this is my T90 tree. I don't have one for the 465. But now I know that's exactly what my gear setup is. Nothing's turned around, nothing's facing the wrong direction. It's hanging there, it's waiting for me. Tomorrow, next week, next year, it's just always going to be there. So if you got a good way to prop your gears up, you could do it on a broom handle. You know, it doesn't matter, but just, I've seen guys turn their gears around before and not be able to get it in the case and everything. You know, you got to take everything apart again. But that was our first press, and we got all that stuff off. We'll keep working at it. Hang in there. Okay, we got this main shaft flipped over now. Grabbing it by the second speed synchro hub. And this should come out fairly easy. You're just pressing that bushing and gear off. Okay. Now we've got everything off except one more sleeve there, and we don't need to really take that off because we're not using this shaft. So let's head back over to the bench. Okay, our main shaft is stripped out now. If you're rebuilding this 465 and not adapting it to anything, you're going to need to remove that bushing. I think the easiest way to do it, and the way that works best for me, is to just secure this, get a chisel, and bang it right there and right there. It'll split, it'll come right off. You can press it off, you could heat it up a little bit, it'll slide off. You can just take this chisel, a couple whacks, it'll come right off. Remember, like I said, we don't need this main shaft because we're adapting it. So we can just put that aside right now, and we'll go after the cluster gear next. Okay, I just want to quick talk about the cluster gear. A lot of early units from 68 to right around 77, 1978, somewhere around in there, they used a rubber damper right in this area here on the cluster gear. If that's the case, you want to get rid of that. Now this is a later one, and there's nothing wrong with anything on here. If you don't have this spacer in there, and you have a rubber damper here, all right, get the snap rings off here, press this off, get yourself a new gear with you know, all metal construction, no rubber damper in there. And when you get a Novak kit or another kit or something like that, it'll come with this. This is the spacer right here. It'll come with this. It's important you put this in. It's important you follow the directions and you use the right thickness snap ring. and you get this right. This is very important here. If you have the rubber one, don't use it. It's too old. It's deteriorated. You don't want that. Now that's on the early guys. Like I say, 68 to 77, 78, something like that. You'll see it. You'll know it. It's completely different shape back here, and it won't have this spacer in there. This is the later version. It's the best version. And this is what you want in there. You don't want that rubber. It's just going to deteriorate. That was used back then to dampen the effect when you put the clutch in, and you don't want to feel like a jerk in the cab. You know, it's just it was a smoother engagement when you let the clutch out. It did not work. So that's what should be in there. Like I say, this comes in the Novak kit, and it needs to be in there. Do not use the rubber mounted cluster gear. So this gear is fine. It's in very nice condition. There's nothing wrong with it. So we're going to reuse it as it is. We don't need to push anything apart. We're not changing gears. We're not doing anything like that. So we're just going to put this to the side. But I just need you guys to know what's going on. This needs to go in there. If you're using... remember, we're putting the upgraded third gear in there, okay? If you're using this third gear, it's not going to work right if you don't have that spacer, that proper size spacer in there. All steel gear, no rubber, spacer, and you'll be fine. Do not overlook that. Make sure you get your snap rings in there correctly, and you'll have a long-lasting transmission. Okay, we're going to go after that input shaft bearing. Right there, we got the snap ring off already. And the factory tool set for this transmission. They made a very nice holder like that. That goes right under. Now we can put that in the press. We've got something nice to grab that bearing by. It'll make pressing a lot easier. Like I say, if you have the factory tools, makes it a little bit easier. It's not necessary, but you know, when people bring me a transmission, they expect that I could do it in the most efficient way and not take them, you know, hours and hours to make up jigs to press bearings off and this and that. But everything goes much faster with the factory tools, so I use them when I can because it just speeds along the process, cheaper for the customer, and I think you get a better job. You're not breaking parts and you're not making a mess of things. So I'm going to head over to the press. I'll just zip that off and be right back with you. Okay guys, next time we are going to take our new main shaft, get our bushings pressed on there with our gears. There's an order you got to follow to get everything on there correctly. I just want to talk about these bushings a little bit. Everything you buy now is this black phosphate coated. Okay, the early transmissions didn't have, they had shiny ones. You'll see them, they won't be black at all on the older transmissions. And even if they're in good shape, don't use them. Get a set of the modern black phosphate bushings. They last a lot longer. It's a much better material. So if you're shopping around or you're rebuilding your 465 and your bushings look good and you want to reuse them, it's best to get these black ones. But we're going to start assembling the main shaft, and we might even, you see the case in there, I've got to get that case cleaned up, so I'm going to work on that the rest of today. Maybe take it outside and give it a hot water pressure wash once I get most of the junk off it. We'll clean up the cluster gear a little bit. We'll degrease those gears as best we can, and we'll start putting our new parts in here. So like I say, I want to try and keep these short so you can follow along. If you're doing this at home, you can go step by step and you can see how I'm doing it, and you could get your unit rebuilt. So we're going to call this part 2 and end it here. I'll get the case cleaned up, and I will try and get another video out in just a short while, so you can keep moving if you're doing this at home. So thanks for watching, everybody. Hit the like button, tell a friend, pass the videos along, and thanks again. We'll see you on the next one.